They always joke about your flaws. Let's be honest, most people are too afraid to directly tell you they don't like you. Instead, they hide behind fake smiles, hollow compliments, and forced politeness. I've been there too. I once thought someone was my friend, only to find out later they were secretly hoping for my failure. It's a brutal reality, but one that needs to be faced. If you don't learn to recognize the signs, you'll waste your energy on people who don't truly respect or value you. One of the clearest signs is when someone constantly jokes about your flaws. You know the type, the person who always has a clever little jab aimed at you. It might be about the way you dress, how you talk, or even the goals you are working toward. At first, it may seem lighthearted. They'll say things like, "Relax, I'm just messing with you." But over time, you start to realize something deeper. The jokes are always aimed at your imperfections, never your strengths. These kinds of jokes aren't innocent. They're subtle attacks disguised as humor designed to chip away at your confidence bit by bit. I once had someone close to me who constantly made comments about how I spoke and what I wore. At first, I laughed along, thinking it was harmless. But the longer it went on, the more I began to second-guess myself. I started to wonder if I was really as awkward or flawed as they made me feel. Here's the truth that many don't want to admit. People who frequently joke about your flaws aren't doing it out of love or playfulness. They're testing your boundaries to see how much disrespect you'll tolerate. It's a subtle form of dominance. They maintain control by cloaking their criticism in humor, while society teaches you that if you can't take a joke, you're the one with the problem. But that mindset is dangerous. You're not too sensitive for being hurt by constant ridicule. You're human. There's nothing wrong with standing up for yourself when a joke crosses the line. True friends don't need to put you down to feel good about themselves. They celebrate your strengths and help you grow through your weaknesses without making you feel like a punchline. I've seen this dynamic too many times. People stay silent to keep the peace, thinking it's easier to let things slide. But the more you tolerate it, the more they push. Eventually, those little jabs can eat away at your self-worth. I had to learn this the hard way. By laughing along, I was giving permission for the behavior to continue. When I finally set boundaries, everything shifted. Not only did they treat me differently, but I started to respect myself more. So here's the takeaway. If someone's jokes leave you feeling small or insecure, don't ignore that feeling. You don't have to pretend it's funny. Speak up, set limits. It might be uncomfortable, but your self-respect is worth more than someone's cheap laugh. They give backhanded compliments. We've all experienced it, that strange moment when someone compliments you, but instead of feeling flattered, you're left confused or even slightly insulted. It's like being slapped with a smile. You're left wondering, wait, was that supposed to be nice? These are backhanded compliments, and they're one of the most subtle but damaging ways someone can express hidden dislike. Backhanded compliments are sneaky because they appear kind on the surface but carry a deeper, often hurtful message underneath. I remember a time when I had worked hard on a major project that meant a lot to me. After weeks of effort, I finally shared it with a group of colleagues. One of them, someone I thought was supportive, smiled and said, "Wow, this is actually really good for someone like you." At first, I tried to accept it as a compliment, but those last few words kept ringing in my ears. "For someone like you." What exactly did that mean? Was I not supposed to be capable of good work? That's the sting of a backhanded compliment. It undermines your achievements and makes you question your worth, all while the other person pretends to be encouraging. The truth is, people who give these kinds of compliments often have an underlying agenda. They're not trying to uplift you, they're trying to keep you in your place. It's a power move. They want you to feel like you're doing okay, but never good enough to rise above them. These subtle digs are a way to assert superiority without looking openly hostile. It's toxic behavior, but it's wrapped in politeness, which makes it harder to confront. What's more, these compliments often stem from insecurity. When someone sees your growth talent or potential, it can trigger their own self-doubt. Instead of dealing with that internally, they try to pull you down just enough to feel secure again. It's like they're giving you a pat on the back with one hand while holding you down with the other. Here's the uncomfortable part. Many of us have done this ourselves, often without realizing it. Maybe you've made a comment that in hindsight wasn't as kind as you thought. That's human, but once you recognize this pattern, whether in yourself or others, you have the power to stop it. So what do you do when someone gives you a backhanded compliment? You call it out calmly but directly. Say something like, "Thanks, but what do you mean by that?" It forces them to confront the hidden meaning in their words and shows them you're not going to accept subtle disrespect. The bottom line is this: compliments should make you feel good, not confused or belittled. If someone's words leave you questioning yourself, it's time to question their intentions instead. You deserve to be around people who uplift you with sincerity, not ones who disguise criticism as kindness. Recognize the difference and never hand over your self-worth for someone else's comfort. They subtly exclude you from plans. Sometimes the most painful betrayals are the quiet ones. It's not always a dramatic confrontation or an obvious insult. Often it's something more subtle, like realizing you weren't invited to a dinner, a weekend getaway, or a party you would have loved to attend. When you confront them, they'll say it was a last-minute thing or assume you were probably busy anyway. But deep down, you know better. These moments of exclusion aren't accidental. They're deliberate. I've experienced this firsthand. One weekend, I was scrolling through social media and saw photos of a group of people I considered friends having a great time at an event. Not one of them mentioned it to me beforehand. When I brought it up later, the responses were full of excuses. "We thought you were busy," or "it just happened last minute." But here's the truth: if they really wanted me there, they would have made sure I knew about it. This kind of exclusion sends a message without using words. It's a way of slowly pushing you out of the group without confronting you directly. They don't have the courage to say they don't want you around, so they hope you'll eventually get the hint and fade away quietly. It's passive-aggressive and hurtful, but unfortunately, it happens more often than people admit. We don't talk about this enough because it's easier to believe the excuses than to face the uncomfortable truth that you may no longer be valued in someone's life. Accepting those excuses over and over again means giving people permission to keep sidelining you. It's letting them decide your worth in their world. I used to let these things slide, hoping that next time would be different. But eventually I realized that staying silent was a form of acceptance. So I did something that felt bold. I started speaking up. I would say, "Hey, I noticed you guys went out last weekend. How come no one mentioned it to me?" It was awkward, yes, and not everyone responded well. But it forced people to take responsibility for their actions and how they were making me feel. And that's the deeper truth: people who care about you will make an effort to include you no matter how last minute the plan is. If they don't, it may be time to reevaluate those relationships. You shouldn't have to constantly chase after people just to feel seen or included. True friends want you around. They don't forget you, they make sure you're there. If you find yourself repeatedly left out, don't ignore it. Ask the hard questions. The answers may hurt, but at least you'll stop wondering. You're not a backup plan or an afterthought. You're someone worth being included, and it's time to surround yourself with people who treat you that way. They're busy only when it comes to you. We've all heard it: "I'm just really busy right now." It's the go-to excuse that makes it hard to argue or question someone's availability. After all, everyone's busy. Life is demanding. But here's the thing: when someone is always too busy for you, yet seems to have plenty of time for others, that's no longer about their schedule. That's about their priorities. I remember reaching out to a friend I had once been very close with. I just wanted to catch up, maybe grab coffee or chat for a bit. Every time I suggested something, I was met with a polite excuse. "Work's crazy right now," or "maybe next week." At first, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but then I saw them spending time with other people, posting happy photos and sharing stories about outings and gatherings. It became clear I wasn't part of the life they were making time for. The hard truth is this: people make time for who and what they care about. If someone repeatedly tells you they're too busy but somehow manages to show up for everyone else, it's not about their calendar. It's about where you stand in their life, and that can be a difficult pill to swallow. We've been conditioned to accept busy as a polite excuse. It helps people avoid confrontation, and it allows us to avoid facing the truth. But the reality is that someone who always has an excuse when it comes to you is silently sending a message: you are not a priority. And no matter how gently it's delivered, that message hurts. I've been on both sides of this situation. There were times when I genuinely didn't want to spend time with someone, but didn't know how to express it honestly. I'd hide behind vague replies and vague commitments. But being on the receiving end taught me a powerful lesson: honesty, even when uncomfortable, is far better than being strung along. Eventually, I called my friend out. I asked directly, "You always seem busy when I reach out, but I see you spending time with others. What's going on? It wasn't an easy conversation, but it gave me clarity. Sometimes relationships fade. Sometimes people change. That's life. But you deserve to know where you stand so you can decide where to invest your time and energy. Here's the deeper message: your time is valuable, and your presence is a gift. Do not waste it on people who cannot or will not make space for you in their lives. You deserve friendships and relationships where the effort is mutual, where people are happy to see you and make time not just when it's convenient, but because they genuinely care. Letting go of people who don't prioritize you isn't a loss. It's a powerful act of self-respect. I choose those who choose you. They avoid physical contact. Let's talk about something that often gets overlooked: physical contact, or more specifically, the lack of it. In both friendships and professional relationships, small gestures like handshakes, pats on the back, or friendly hugs help create warmth and connection. So what does it mean when someone consistently avoids even the most casual touch with you? The truth isn't pretty. When someone goes out of their way to avoid physical interaction, it often signals discomfort or emotional distance. It's a subtle but powerful way of saying, I don't want to be close to you. And the more selective the behavior is, the louder the message becomes. I remember working closely with a colleague who seemed friendly to everyone, laughing, giving handshakes, even quick hugs with others in the office. But when it came to me, it was a completely different story. Anytime I reached out for a handshake or offered a light touch on the shoulder during conversation, they would stiffen or pull away. At first, I thought I was overthinking it, but over time, the pattern became undeniable. Here's the thing: some people are just not comfortable with physical contact, and that's completely okay. But when someone is physically open with others and not with you, it's no longer about personal boundaries. It becomes personal. It's a nonverbal way of creating space and signaling disconnection. That's what makes this behavior so difficult to confront. Unlike a direct insult or clear-cut exclusion, physical avoidance is easy to dismiss or explain away. You might tell yourself it's just a coincidence or that the person is having a bad day. But if the pattern continues, it's worth paying attention to. Body language never lies. Avoiding physical contact can be a sign of deeper emotional discomfort. Whether it's dislike, resentment, or unresolved tension, it shows that the person is unwilling to build or maintain closeness. You can feel it in the way they position themselves, keep their distance, or lean away when you're near. It's not always hostile, but it is revealing. I learned to stop ignoring these signs and started acknowledging what they really meant. When I finally brought it up with someone who always seemed to avoid me physically, the conversation was uncomfortable but necessary. In that moment, it became clear that the relationship was not as close or genuine as I had believed. That honesty allowed me to stop wondering and start moving on. Here's the deeper truth: touch is a basic human connection. When someone repeatedly avoids it with you, they are keeping you at arm's length, both literally and emotionally. You deserve relationships where physical presence feels natural, not awkward. Whether it's a handshake, a pat on the back, or just sitting nearby in comfortable silence, these small interactions matter. If someone consistently avoids them, don't ignore it. Ask yourself what that distance really means. You owe it to yourself to seek connections that are honest, warm, and mutual. They disappear when you need support. There's no clearer test of a relationship than what happens when life gets hard. When everything falls apart and you reach out for support, who shows up and who disappears says everything about the people in your life. If someone vanishes the moment you need them most, it's not just disappointing. It's a sign that they were never truly invested in you to begin with. I learned this lesson during one of the most difficult times in my life. I was going through a personal crisis that shook me to my core. Naturally, I turned to the people I considered close friends. I wasn't asking for much, just a message, a phone call, some small sign that they were there. But instead, all I got was silence. No check-ins, no offers to talk, just excuse after excuse. Work has been insane, or I've been meaning to reach out. But deep down, I knew the truth. If they really cared, they would have made the effort. This kind of absence cuts deep. It's not just the lack of support, it's the realization that you were probably more invested in the relationship than they were. When someone disappears during your lowest moments, it tells you exactly where you stand in their life, and sometimes that truth is hard to face. We live in a world where it's easy to say, I'll always be there for you, But when the time comes, most people only show up for the fun, not the fallout. They're present for the celebrations, the parties, the laughs. But when things get messy, when emotions get heavy, they back away. Not because they're too busy, but because your pain is inconvenient. Real support isn't about being there when it's easy. It's about showing up when it's uncomfortable. It's sitting with someone in silence, listening without judgment, and offering presence without expecting anything in return. That's what separates true friends from fair weather ones. I used to feel devastated by the absence of people I had once been there for during their breakups, their family struggles, their hard times. I thought we had built something meaningful, but their silence showed me otherwise. It hurt, yes, but it also gave me clarity. It helped me stop investing in one-sided relationships. Here's the deeper message. Support is the foundation of real connection. It is not about grand gestures, it's about consistency. If someone cannot be there for you when you are vulnerable, then they are not someone you can count on. And that is not someone you should continue to invest your time and energy in. Let their absence be your wake-up call. The ones who check in, who show up even when it's inconvenient, those are the people worth holding on to. As for the ones who vanish when you need them most, let them go. They've already shown you who they truly are. They gossip behind your back. Gossip may seem harmless to some, but in reality, it's one of the most damaging and cowardly ways a person can show their true colors. When someone talks about you behind your back, especially someone you consider a friend, they aren't just sharing a story. They're actively chipping away at your trust, your reputation, and the foundation of your relationship. I've been there. I once confided in someone I truly believed was a close friend. I opened up about something deeply personal, trusting that what I shared would stay between us. But within days, pieces of that conversation began to surface, twisted, exaggerated, and passed around like gossip fuel. It felt like a betrayal. And it was. That person had taken something raw and vulnerable and turned it into entertainment for others. This is what people often fail to realize. Gossip is not just venting. It's a power move. It's a way for someone to make themselves feel more important by tearing someone else down. And the worst part, they don't have to confront you directly. They get to play the role of friend in your presence, all while quietly undermining you when you're not around. Here's the brutal truth. People who gossip to you will almost certainly gossip about you. It's not a one-time thing. It's a pattern. If someone constantly brings you the latest tea about others, don't be surprised when your name ends up in someone else's conversation. Gossipers thrive on drama, and they're not loyal to anyone but themselves. I remember finally confronting the person who had spread my personal story. I expected them to feel guilty or at least offer an explanation. Instead, they brushed it off. It wasn't that serious, they said, but it was. Gossip is never just talk. It's a breach of trust, and it can damage not just your image, but your sense of safety in your relationships. The deeper message here is simple. If someone disrespects you in private, they don't truly respect you in public either. Words spoken in the shadows have a way of coming to light, and when they do, they often leave scars that take time to heal. You deserve relationships where your secrets are safe, where your struggles aren't turned into punchlines, and where people speak well of you whether you're in the room or not. If someone shows you that they're willing to betray your trust for the sake of gossip, believe them. They're not your friend, they're an opportunist. Protect your peace by setting strong boundaries. Distance yourself from people who treat trust like a game. Life is too short to invest in relationships built on whispers and betrayal. Choose to surround yourself with those who uplift you, defend you in your absence, and honor your trust always. One of the most important lessons you can apply to your life right now is this: pay close attention to how people make you feel when you're not at your best. In tough moments, when you're vulnerable in need, or celebrating a win, watch who supports you, who disappears, who subtly tears you down, and who talks behind your back. The people who truly value you won't joke at your expense, exclude you from plans, or give you compliments laced with condescension. They won't avoid you when life gets hard or use your personal struggles as gossip. They'll stand by you not because it's easy, but because they care. Start setting boundaries with anyone who consistently makes you feel like an afterthought or an outsider. If someone makes time for everyone except you, constantly leaves you out, or pulls away emotionally and physically, take it as a sign. You deserve relationships where respect, support, and honesty are mutual. Don't waste energy chasing people who only pretend to care. Call out subtle disrespect, even if it makes others uncomfortable, and never stay silent just to keep the peace. Your self-worth should never be sacrificed to preserve a friendship that's one-sided. Instead, surround yourself with people who lift you up, value your presence, and speak well of you both in public and behind closed doors. Let go of anyone who doesn't. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. The quality of your life is directly tied to the quality of your relationships. Protect your energy. Speak up for yourself and walk away from those who show you with actions, not just words, that they don't truly respect you. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary for peace, growth, and genuine connection.